Brothers War is a set that has come out amidst all of the other sets coming out, and we've picked through it to find our favorite commander cards.
Yeah, we were covering a lot of the MTG 30 stuff, but Brothers War has been on our radar for a while. So we are going to go through all of the cards from the main set. So I'm sure some of you have seen retro artifacts. None of that is going to be in this. These are from draft boosters. These are the best commander cards. Let's get into the video. Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat. Hello and welcome to the day.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
I'm Admiral Muffin.
I'm Johnny Bananas. Welcome back to another episode of Jake and Joel Are Magic. We're going to look at some Brothers War commander cards, but first, I want to ask you real quick, if you like the video, by the end of it, don't make your choice now. Hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button lets us know to make more videos like this.
Yes, and if you want to get involved on a deeper level, help out the channel by going over to Patreon. That is going to be the best way to get the best Jake and Joel videos in the future. We have some cards to talk about today that are from the Brothers War main set. We are going to go over our favorite commander picks, so make sure to stick around all the way to the end. We've got how many cards to talk about today? About 27, I believe.
27 cards.
Dude, there's some good commander cards in this set, so we're going to dig in and get down to the nitty-gritty and figure out why so many people are excited about Brothers War.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, normally we pick like 6 or 8 each. When we combined our lists this time, we had over 30 and we chopped it down to 27 that we just had to include. So let's take a look at these cards. Starting us off, Jake, Calamities Wake, an uncommon. We're starting low on the rarity scale here. A white and 1 for an instant speed, exile all graveyards. Sorry, recursion players. Also, players can't cast non-creature spells this turn and then exile it because we don't want that happening more than once.
Yeah, pretty strong spell here. That instant speed and being able to shut down essentially the player's turn that you cast this on. It's a pretty big effect, and we need to include it even though it's just at uncommon. That 2 mana as well. It's strong for how little it costs.
I love that it just, kind of screws one person in particular. Sorry.
Right. Next up, we have Urzas Silex, and for 3, we're getting an effect that's a legendary artifact. 2 white, 2 other. Tap it, exile Urzas Silex. Each player chooses 6 lands they control. Destroy all other permanents. Activate only as a sorcery. So a lot of balance here. Whenever Urzas Silex is put into exile from the battlefield, you may pay 2. If you do, search your library for a Planeswalker card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So this makes me feel like it's going to really shine in Atraxa, for example. Joel mentioned earlier that you can make stuff indestructible and then use it. So if you build around this, you can get all of the benefit and none of the downside. Pretty strong card here and definitely worth including.
I think it really works well in a meta that runs a lot of landfall decks, a lot of crazy ramp decks, because you're going to be able to bring that back down to earth while also resetting the boards. I think that that's an important piece of this, is that it also nukes everything but 6 lands that you control. I think that that's what makes it strong. You do probably need to pick a Planeswalker to run in your deck alongside this, especially if that's not your main strategy, so you at least can like pay that to go get something really powerful and, keep the party rolling.
That's right. And it's kind of fun, using this after your opponents have used all of their spells to tutor lands up to ramp up on the battlefield. So it's like, let them use those spells, then use this to dial everything back. And then most likely they don't have a lot more spells to go tutor up the exact lands that they need.
I love a little backdoor board wipe. Draftna, founder of Latinum. 1 blue, 1 other for a 2/1. Narrow, but super powerful in that niche card. Pay a blue and 1 at will to return target artifact you control to its owner's hand. Any artifacts that have ETBs, hello. You want to save your artifact from destruction? Hello. Pay 3, tap it, copy target artifact spell you control. So while the artifact you've cast is still on the stack, you can copy that artifact spell. If it's a permanent, which it is, it's an artifact, you get a token of that artifact. Then with Draftna, you get this little cycle rolling. You play an ETB artifact, you copy it, you get the token, you return the real one to your hand for 2 mana, You recast it.
I mean,
you recopy it. You get the token. In that niche, this card is sick.
I think it could be in the 99, and I think it could be a commander as well. I think it shines as both. You know, if you're building Artifacts Matters, this is the card for you. If you have like artifacts that do things when they enter, that kind of thing, get the most out of that. Reverberate those effects. Or if we're in blue, twin cast them.
Heyo. Yep.
Heyo.
Absolutely. I like the Fauna of Latinum. That's so fun.
Yeah, next up we have Hercule Master Wizard, 2 blue, 1 other for a 2/4. And just so much velocity on this card. Padim comes to mind, I believe. Was Padim 3 or 4? I don't remember, but I do like the 4 but here. The 4 but is a big deal. At the beginning of your end step, if you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. For each card type among non-creature spells you've cast this turn, you may put a card of that type from among the revealed cards into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So if you cast instant, sorcery, artifact, enchantment, you are going to reveal the top 5. Planeswalker as well. And then get one of those spells to replace the spell of that type. So it's just velocity. It's just replacement. You're going to dig through the deck. Yeah, you might breeze past some cards, but I think the amount of cards that you're going to be seeing really makes this card shine.
Yeah, for sure. So if you cast an instant and a sorcery on your turn, EOT, you reveal 5, you get to pick from among those 5 an instant and a sorcery to put into your hand. Same if it was instant, sorcery, enchantment, you get to pick an instant, a sorcery, and an enchantment if all 3 types exist in that top 5. Combine this with a little bit of scry if you want to. You're looking at
Senseis.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. You're looking at some pretty sweet velocity on a very relevant creature type, human and wizard. It's got a little bit of everything, does Hercule.
And an advisor if you need to, have a little bit of advising in your life. If you need someone to advise you, this is the card for you.
Little consultation. Arcane Proxy is going to consult us on what's in our graveyard. It's one of these modal creatures, prototype. 7 mana for the 4/3. We talked about this in a previous video. I just love this card. ETBs, if you cast it, exile target instant or sorcery with mana value less than or equal to Arcane Proxy's power from your graveyard. Copy the card. You can cast the copy without paying its mana cost. So if you cast it for blue, 1, you get a 2/1. You can exile target instant or sorcery with mana value less than or equal to 2 and cast it for free. If you cast it for 7, you get a 4/3. So you're getting a mana value less than or equal to 4 of an instant or sorcery from your graveyard, casting it for free. Return this to your hand, recast it, do it again. We just saw the Drafna, founder of Latinum, returning artifacts to your hand. You cast this, you copy it with Drafna. You get a copy of it, you're returning it, you're doing all these things. It's still entering the battlefield. It's just so good. I love Arcane Proxy.
The fact that you can pick the spell from the yard to match it. I mean, that really helps because you're picking from your entire graveyard. It's like, it just needs to be, under the power.
Yeah.
Or equal to or other. Yeah.
Snapcaster Mage robot, basically.
That's right. Next up, we have an Anthem with some upside. So this card probably wouldn't make the list if it were just an Anthem, +1/+1 for 2 white and 1 other. But on this enchantment, we have something that you can do late game. For 1 white and 5 other, exile target non-land permanent you don't control until In the Trenches leaves the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery and only once. So if you make this investment, say, into a tokens type deck, you've already paid the 3 mana late game, you're like, well, you know what? That thing is pesky. And I have this random card, and we are in the trenches. It's kind of a fun lore type card because it's like you're playing this early to help your creatures, give them a little bit of extra oomph, and then late game you're exiling something to, and that versatility is really good. You're exiling something to clean up the board. I think that this is a really fun spell. I don't know if it's going to shine in every deck. I think this is for tokens and go wide, obviously, since it's an Anthem. But that little bit of extra versatility makes this card stand out.
Yeah, this is the kind of B or C tier card that really speaks to me and how I like to build decks, because it lets me stay on strategy in my token deck to be growing my tokens. That's all I want to do. Either have cards that go wide, or have cards that grow them, or have cards that save them. I can pick a card that grows them within the trenches, and it happens to have some subpar removal built in. But the subparness is only based on the mana value that you have to pay for that effect, because the removal itself, exile target non-land permanent, So choice. I don't care that it's like an Oblivion Ring style thing, and I don't care that you can't do it at instant speed. It's the kind of card that speaks to me a lot when I'm building, you know, a fun synergistic deck. Is it going to be in CEDH? No, but it has 2 different strategies built in, which is kind of nice. Battlefield Butcher is up next. Another uncommon on the list, showing you the depth of this set as far as Commander goes, as far as I'm concerned. A black and 2 for a 1/4 human soldier. Pay 5, tap it, each opponent loses 2 life. Joel, that's awful. Well, hang on. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each creature card in your graveyard. So, we're going to play this in decks where our creature cards are all going to be in our graveyard. And Battlefield Butcher, EOT, it's my turn? Okay, EOT, tap Battlefield Butcher, you each lose 2. That thing is just going to ping us to death, guys. All right, my turn. Here we go. Untap. And that's how that interaction would go. I love this card. I love this card.
It's just a card. It blocks well, too. You're never swinging with it. It's a great blocker. And then you're just going to EOT right before your upkeep, or obviously before it gets killed, or before your graveyard gets exiled. You know, those are the times that you're going to use this card. Before your turn starts. And yeah, I mean, it's a really fun card. I think it's really good. You know that I like 4 toughness, especially in Commander, where everything is so fragile. Yeah, I think this card is really fun, and yeah, it will ping people to death. Now, we do have a big reprint here with Diabolic Intent. We don't need to talk a lot about why this card is good. This card is Demonic Tutor, except you have to sacrifice a creature. And if you build it into sacrifice type strategies where that matters, it could be a little bit of upside. But essentially, if you need that redundancy, for example, if you're like, I like having Demonic Tutor, and I also want another 2-cost tutor, and I don't mind sacrificing creatures, then run Diabolic Intent. That's the card for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's like Demonic Tutor, but with more value in the right deck because you want to sacrifice those creatures. Gixx's Command is a modal sorcery for 5 mana, 2 black pips on there, and you get to choose 2 of these modes. Put 2 1/1 counters on up to 1 creature. It gains lifelink until end of turn, so it's not the best mode on here, but it could be a good way to get some life back. You got a 5/5, turn into a 7/7, start swinging for 7 life in your favor. Next mode, destroy each creature with power 2 or less. Excellent mode. Destroy, that's destroying token creatures, all the mana dorks. Hits a lot of good stuff. Third mode, return up to 2 creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. That's probably going to be a mode that we want to use quite often on this. And then the best mode, in my opinion, each opponent sacks a creature with the highest power among creatures they control. That mode in and of itself is worth about 3 mana. We've got a card or 2 already in existence in MTG for 3 mana, black and 2, that says each opponent sacks a creature with the highest power among creatures they control. So that's excellent to have on here, and you have 2 more mana worth of value if you're returning 2 creature cards or destroying a ton of creatures if they've got power 2 or less. If they, you know, if you got a bunch of tokens on the battlefield, let's rock and roll.
For me, modal spells are just so attractive because they get you out of sticky situations. It's just versatility. That first mode, yeah, you may not use it that much, but you never know when you have 1 big creature on the game and you have 1 life left and you're like, wait, Gixx's Command, let's swing the game and gain some life. But yeah, for me, my favorite modes on this are destroy each creature with power 2 or less. Any type of spell where like creatures your opponents control like have 0 power until end of turn, anything like that, being able to combine that, shrinking creatures and then destroying them afterward with Gixx's Command, that's a fun thing as well. But returning up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand, that's never a bad thing, being able to get some of your biggest heat back. But yeah, I love at least 3 modes on this card. That first mode, take it or leave it, but I like the other 3.
Jake, every time there's a set, is always attracted to the commands in the set, because command has become sort of a type of card that's getting printed into a lot of sets, if not every single one.
That's true.
You should build a 5-color deck called Gixx Command and put as many of the commands as you can possibly fit into there. Maybe we can find you a commander that
just
like
run commands.
Yeah, reduces the costs of instant or sorceries or something. Start playing with, you know, a spell casting synergy. I think that'd be a fun command.
It'll just
command
be more
deck
fun.
For you.
More fun commands.
Yeah, there you go. Hostile Negotiations is the black version of Fact or Fiction. exile at instant speed. Exile the top 3 cards of your library in a face-down pile. Then exile the top 3 cards of your library in another face-down pile. So 3 and then 3. You're looking at the top 6. Look at the cards in each pile. Then turn a pile face up. An opponent chooses one. You put that card pile into your hand and put the other cards into your graveyard. In the right deck, putting the cards into your graveyard, that's something that you want to happen.
No big deal. Yeah, there's some bluffing going on with this. You do lose 3 life as well, but that's negligible. The only reason this card is included is because it's at instant speed. Yes. I don't think we include this at sorcery, but being able to do this before your turn starts to look at the top 6. Yeah, I like it in a Graveyard Matters deck as well. I don't think all decks are going to want it, but I do think that decks where you don't mind half of the cards of the 6 going to your yard, I think it's going to really shine in those kind of decks. This is a fun card. I think it's really cool. I like the art on it as well. I like the brightness.
You got to look at this card and go, would I run instant speed, draw 3 for 4, draw 3, lose 3 for 4, and then go, and there's upside if I'm a graveyard or any type of recursion deck.
Right.
That's how I
think I run draw 3 at instant speed for 4 in black. I think I
draw 3, lose 3, instant speed, 4 mana. I think that's a good card.
Next up, we have Lauren of the Third Path, and this is my name for this card. Are you ready? It's Reclamation Politician. 1 white, 2 other for a 2/1 vigilance. When Lauren enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment, and you can tap it, and you and targeted opponent each draw a card. So, you know, if I'm in a sticky situation, I'm like, I don't have anything to deal with this. Do you think maybe you do? It's like, yeah, sure, let me use my top and take a look. And it's like, okay, my friend over here is gonna get me out of this. Gonna use their top, tap Lauren. Now you and that person are drawing a card. It's a very political card, but I love this effect in white. I love that white got a Rec Sage with this weird effect on it. You and target opponent each draw a card.
Oh yeah, somebody goes to start trying to win the game with their combo, and you got Lauren of the Third Path on the battlefield, and you turn to the blue player, and the blue player starts the Thanos monologue of, where did that bring you? Back to me. Can you draw a counterspell, do you think? I'll try. You want me to draw a card? And you're like, I'm tapping Lauren. Need you to draw a card here, baby. I think this is the kind of card. I've been in those situations so many times where you're just kind of looking around at the other 2 opponents going, do we have anything we can do about this?
What can we do here?
Yeah, and they're like, I'm trying to think of ways to draw cards. Right, exactly. This is just a very fun political card that I think is going to lead to some very fun and silly situations.
Now it's nice we have a red card on the list here. 2 red,
and it's not a
1
7 mana enchantment that does 1,000 things that'll never be played.
That's right. Sorcery Speed, choose 1. Brotherhood's End deals 3 damage to each creature in each planeswalker, and then the mode that you're going to use this the most, destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. So if this isn't going to hurt you that much, or say you're using a lot of big artifacts and you're like, I want to clean up all of these pesky small mana rocks, then that's where this card is really going to shine.
Yeah, Jake likes this card because of Survey Says versatility. It's basically a modal. It's just another command that
Anger of the Gods attached to
plus a little 3-mana artifact wipe. I like
that's
it.
Right.
Yeah, as far as the red cards go in there, we needed one, and that one was the one that survived. Awaken the Woods. This is one of the mythic sorceries that everybody's been talking about, and we wanted to chat about it for just a second. 2 green X, create X 1/1 green forest dryad land creature tokens. They are lands. They can tap for mana. They are creatures. They can tap to attack. Because they're creatures, they cannot tap for mana on the turn that they're played. So
they can die.
Let's say they will die. Let's say you play this for 6 mana. Okay, you're going to get 4 1/1 green forest dryad land creature tokens. They are creatures. They are lands. You must wait a turn to use them. If it gets back to your turn, you have ramped by 4, and you have 4 creatures ready to attack. If that's also your strategy, grow those all by a bunch with some +1/+1 tokens. You're ready to roll. This one can do a lot and could lead to some very explosive turns.
Yeah, that's what I like about this card is it really is kind of like a holy shit button. It's like, let's just do something big. Say you want to cast Eldrazi or you're running a bunch of Eldrazi. This could be the card that just ramps you up, gets you to them super early. Obviously, you run it in big stuff. That's kind of where I see it mattering. I don't think I want to do this just to make a bunch of tokens that don't really
there's some
do
X
anything.
decks that run around. You know, there's the Hydra that adds 2 mana and it has to do with X decks.
Sure.
There's also the new commander. I forget her name, but there's a new commander from the Tyrannid Warhammer deck that is a tap for 2 mana. If that mana is spent to cast an X spell, copy that spell straight up. So this would be a good one to copy.
Yeah, this would be a good one to copy, but I still like it if you're playing a bunch of big creatures. I like it if you have some payoff to go with these tokens. I'm not running this if these lands don't tap. Like,
right.
For example, if the tokens did not tap for mana,
For sure.
I'm probably not running this spell, especially at sorcery speed.
Yeah, and to your point, you don't want to just jam this in any green deck. You want some sort of tokens matters, and it's a ramp for your token strategy. It's like I was talking about within the trenches. I play this if I want a token deck, and this also happens to ramp me. I get 2 things for 1 card, very leaned into my synergy, and I get extra stuff. That's where I would use this kind of card. Really good green mythic sorcery. Got a really good green rare here.
Yeah, Fauna Shaman, this is a reprint. 1 green, 1 other for a 2/2. Elf Shaman, and for 1 green and tap, so it does need to get past Summoning Sickness. Discard a creature card. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. So there are effects like this in MTG. This is a nice reprint. We've needed this reprint for a while. Like the art on this one, it looks really cool. And it is the kind of card that is going to allow you to, I mean, it's perfect tutoring, right?
Must be killed.
It's graveyard. It's 1,000,000% must be killed, because you are converting. You're throwing stuff in the yard. I like this in a Yard Matters deck. I run this in Carador.
Yep.
So I will pitch big stuff that I don't need to go get my mana dorks, to go get, Yavimaya Elder, that kind of stuff. You pitch the big stuff that you're going to get later into the yard, then you go get the stuff that's going to get you to that point. This is just a great card. It's perfect tutoring, a repeatable tutor, super strong.
Comes down late, don't kill it. Here comes Craterhoof. Time to ruin the day. Really good.
That's right.
Really good green card. Great reprint. Myrel, Shield of R, gives a 4 mana 3/4 human soldier mythic. During your turn, your opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments. That basically says, I'll be playing right now. Y'all all need to sit back, because you can't cast spells, you can't activate it, you can't activate abilities, can't cast spells. You can still activate your land abilities, I guess. Yeah. Go ahead. This is my turn. And whenever it attacks, you create X 1/1 colorless soldier artifact creature tokens, where X is the number of soldiers you control. So, attacks for 1 time, nobody else on the battlefield, 1 soldier. Next time they attack, that's 4. Next time they attack, you're up to 8. It just keeps on coming. It's like the white version of Krenko.
Steel Plate comes to mind.
Oh, hell yeah. Make this indestructible.
Yes.
Get your little Krenko action going in the color white.
Yeah, absolutely brutal card. Anything that shuts down the fundamentals of the game is a good card. When you're playing something and it shuts your opponents down during your turn, it's just super strong.
And there's extra value built
as a
in.
commander.
Yeah.
Next up, Titanias Command, and we have another modal spell here, folks. 2 green, 4 other, sorcery speed, choose 2. So we have exile target player's graveyard. Nice narrow effect here. You gain 1 life for each card exiled this way, so life gain attached to that exile.
Yeah, but when you can do that and need to do that, it's backbreaking. It takes that player out of the game.
Yeah, they're just like, what? And then you're choosing 2, remember. So our other modes are search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Those are not basics. Those are any lands. And then create 2 2/2 green bear creature tokens and put 2 1/1 counters on each creature you control. So a lot of fun things that you can do with this card. There's ramp, there's graveyard exile, there's build my board that I already have, there's create a board if I don't have one and then build it. There's a lot of different ways to use Titania's Command. Yeah, it's a fun spell, and for 6 mana, I like it. I think the value is there.
I like this in a deck like Imara that's going to be creating a lot of creature tokens. You're going wide, and that's your base use for this card, is put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. Permanently grow all of your creature tokens by 2 power and 2 toughness. You can also then add to that, go get any 2 lands, your best 2 lands, your best utility land, and, you know, a Field of Ruin or something to nuke a pesky non-basic land on your opponent's side. That's where I think this lays. Then you also get a little bit of upside with the graveyard nuke. The person's trying to, you know, I've seen a lot of the mono black artifact recursion deck running around lately. The deck kicks ass until the graveyard gets nuked. And then that player sits there. And I'm not kidding. I've seen this happen like 2 or 3 times now in games where they fill it up a little bit too much, you nuke the graveyard, or they win. That's pretty much what it is. So it's a nice effect to just kind of carry with you on an extra piece of a spell. And then you can also create 2 tokens. That's what I think, another reason why I think this really belongs in a token deck, because it synergizes well with that, with just 2 solid modes. And then you also get the ramp and the graveyard nuke.
Yeah, because keep in mind, if you have doubling season out, I mean, this card is just nuts.
Oh, yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the kind of deck that you would be running doubling season in, right?
Or even hardened scales, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like, that's a good spot, too.
Tell us about Haywire Might.
Yeah, this card just does a lot for very little. For 1 mana, we're getting a 1/1. When Haywire Might dies, you gain 2 life. That's like negligible, and it's honestly amazing with as much as I think you can play this. And then for 1 green, sacrifice Haywire Might, exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment.
Exile!
Just exile it. Get it out of the game. And then the Might doesn't get exiled. So you can just get it back. Playing green-white, got the Sun Titan on the swing, get your Might back.
Seriously.
You got the Eternal Witness, get the Might back. You play in something like Carador, where each turn you can cast something from the yard, get the Might back. There's so many different ways to get the Haywire Might back online.
And you didn't even talk about like an artifact salvage strategy, which is so easy to return artifacts, especially 1 costs from the graveyard to your hand or the battlefield. It just returns forever.
Yeah, so clean up every single annoying, like, you know what comes to mind is like Aura Shards, where like if you're playing a ton of creatures, Aura Shards is just going to destroy everything annoying. It's just going to all get cleaned up super quick. That's what this reminds me of, except it's, you know, it's a creature. It costs less than Aura Shards. Aura Shards is an enchantment that's going to do stuff passively, but this is just really good low to the ground. I think that this is like the kind of card that it feels sweaty. It feels like a sweaty card.
Oh, you're running the 1/1 uncommon for 1 that dies, gains 2, and exiles a non-creature artifact or enchantment. Yeah. It's a good card, though. I mean, Caustic Caterpillars run all over the place. You know the Might's going to see play. Hajjar, Loyal Bodyguard, a green and a red for a human soldier, 3/3. You sack Hajjar to give your commander +1/+0, don't care, and indestructible until end of turn. We do care. A lot of times this effect is on 3 mana, like Dauntless Escort, green, white, 1. All your creatures get indestructible if you sack it. You get a lot on like Dauntless Bodyguard or some of the dogs that you can choose a creature when it ETBs, sack it, that creature gains indestructible, or sack it just to give any creature, any single creature you want indestructible. I just love this because it's not in white, so it opens it up to green and red. Like if you're playing a Jund deck or if you're just playing Gruul, you can play this card. And it's 2 mana protection for your commander. And you can swing with it because you don't have to tap or pay anything. You just sack it. And your commander survives. And there's a ton of legendary matters, let's be honest. Ton of legendary matters running around in the last 3 or 4 months. So this card is, I think, gonna see play.
Yeah, you know, when players love effects like Heroic Intervention and stuff like that, if you combine this card with stuff like Heroic Intervention and then have an asceticism, for example, already on the battlefield, so it's like this is like a flag bearer, then you make it to where it can't be killed. It's just so much value. It's one of those cards that when it enters, you're like, okay, so that thing is pesky and we're gonna have to
play
deal
around
with
that crap. Yeah.
We just have to play around it.
And I love cards like that. That's how I want to play, is cards when your opponent, you see them, you'll go, oh god.
Right, because that's how you know it's a good card.
Right.
If they play it and it's grinding your gears, then play that card because it's probably good, you know? Yeah, so this is a fun card and it's fun to see this effect in Gruul.
Yeah, 2 mana too.
Next up, Legions to Ashes, and we have a spell like many spells that we've seen before in the past for this exact mana cost. Sorcery Speed, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls, and all tokens that player controls with the same name as that permanent.
That.
So a very different, and no life lost or anything like that. It isn't instant speed, so it's not as good as some of the stuff that exists for this same cost from different sets. But it is an exile non-land permanent effect with upside with this token thing. This is something that we haven't seen before.
Exiles anything but a land, and if you've just been overrun by goblin tokens, Legion to ashes, baby. Goodbye to your army.
Exactly.
And we can move on. So it's like a excellent removal spell that's slow, but the slow comes at an upside, which is very valuable. Mishra, claimed by Gixx, Rakdos legendary, one of the brothers of the Brothers War. Red, black, 2 other, 3/5, and it's just that first sentence that I really care about. You can do all the meld stuff, and the meld thing turns into a crazy thing, but I like consistency in commander decks, and so the meld stuff, I'm just like, nah. But
so for you, this is your commander then?
Yeah, commander that I want to play as an enchantment. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of attacking creatures. Get your Rakdos army of tokens built up onto the board. 10 tokens, all you need. Play Mishra onto the battlefield. Attack. Mishra doesn't have to attack. That's why it's good. You attack with all 10. Each opponent loses 10, and you gain 10. That is 30 life off of your opponent's total. Just off this 4 mana enchantment that happens to be a legendary creature, Phyrexian Human Artificer, your commander. And then you pass, and people are like, oh, need to do something about that. Plus, you got the upside of go run your Phyrexian Dragon Engine, and if they both attack together, you can meld and look like the hero of your own story.
That's right. I would probably not worry about ever melding this, but I do really like this card in the way that you're saying, as something that just sits passively, has to be dealt with. And when you're playing a card like that, and you're playing it in that fashion, that's your strategy. It only costs 4. So if you're playing this late, and it gets removed, you're going to have the mana to play it a couple more times. This isn't something that you need out super early. You may want it early if you have enough creatures early enough, sure. But if you're waiting to build a board, if you're waiting until you have those big swings ready, then I think this card is going to play exactly how you want it to, which is you're going to cast it a few times and hopefully get those big swings enough to just whittle people out with big chunks, just take big chunks out of their life.
Oh, yeah. That's what I want to do with the Rakdos attacker. Oh, the other brother.
Well, this one's pretty good. So you're getting the 2/4. Love that 4 toughness. For 1 blue, 1 white, and 1 other, we are getting Urza Lord Protector. Legendary creature, human artificer. Artifact, instant, and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Just
full stop. Man. That's all we need right there. 3 mana for that effect. Hell yes.
I mean, it is good. As a commander, it is good in the 99 if you are in those colors. Anything that's going to mitigate that much mana to be cast. I mean, it's just like, yeah, it's very, very strong. Just very strong. Lots of versatility. And then it does have its own, its meld thing as well if you are playing the Might Stone and the Weak Stone in the deck. But I think the card is fine as is. Just a 2/4 for 3 with artifact, instant, and sorcery spells cost 1 less to cast. It's just very good.
Yeah, dude. Plus, out of context for somebody who doesn't know anything about Magic, it looks like an old guy carrying a bowl going into a fight. And, you know, old guy with bowl, I'm assuming that dude wins the fight a lot. You don't know why he's carrying that bowl.
Yeah, you don't know. What's he doing? Yeah, I don't know.
It could have just been for some fruit. And he's like, you'll never get my bowl. But
he's wearing his nicest shirt.
Oh, yeah, and his knee pads. I think
that shirt has some complicated designs.
Oh, dude, that is a complicated design. I'm pretty sure he got that at Dan Flash's, not gonna lie.
I think he got that shirt at Dan Flash's. If I'm past,
dude, if I'm walking past Dan Flash's and I see that shirt, oh, buddy, you know I'm going in and buying it.
That's right. That's right. But yeah, this card is just super strong. Yeah. It's really good. Love the 2/4 for 3. You can cast it a lot if it's your general, essentially a super Electromancer.
Yeah, put it into any of your decks with blue and white. Whoa! Mightstone and Weakstone, we were just talking about you. This is the card that melds with Urza, Lord Protector, if you've got them both on the battlefield and have 7 mana. There's a Planeswalker on the back. You're going to have to Google that yourself. 5 mana, Legendary Artifact Power Stone. When it ETBs, choose 1, draw 2 cards. Done. That's the one you're choosing. Oh, occasionally, fine. Some creature that's pesky may get -5/-5, but at its core, this is a 5 mana rock that draws you 2 cards when it ETBs and then taps for 2 colorless that can only be spent on artifacts or activated abilities. I think it's a good card.
This is an Artifacts Matters card.
For sure.
You don't want this if you don't have a lot of artifacts to cast.
Maybe there's an argument to be made if your commander has an activated ability that's like a color and 2 colorless or 2 colorless or something like that. Maybe. But this is sort of an Artifacts Matter strategy. I just like that it's a mana rock that draws you 2 cards when it ETBs.
Yeah, same. It draws 2 cards, and it has that versatility again where, like, if you need to clean something up, and if it's indestructible, for example, say it's a 4/4 indestructible, 5/5 indestructible, take it out with the -5/-5. Pretty good.
Yeah, this one definitely goes in the Gixx Command commander deck because it is a modal artifact. We got to find all the modal cards for Jake. Oh man, here's a 9 mana spell. Go ahead.
Now, thankfully, this 9 mana spell, this 9 mana artifact, it has a big effect.
It's
Portal
a must
to
answer.
Phyrexia. It's a massive spell. When Portal to Phyrexia enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. And then remember, artifacts and enchantments are some of the most difficult permanents to deal with. They require specific spells to clean them up. They're not like creatures that just will fall into like a catch-all board wipe and everybody dies. Like, you have to deal specifically with artifacts and enchantments. So at the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. So one of those big things you just killed. Maybe it was something else that got killed earlier. From a graveyard. Talk about versatility. If this makes it to your upkeep, oh man, the sky's the limit. It comes to Sheoldred comes to mind. Originally printed in the Scars block. That effect is just so strong. And essentially it's a board wipe for 9 that has upside if it survives to your upkeep. Like, massive upside.
It seems like a must-answer artifact. It whiffs really hard against token decks, and we have to acknowledge the absolute wild prevalence of token creatures and token creature decks in Commander now. So, 9 times out of 10, one of your 3 opponents is going to have a token deck, so Portal doesn't hit them that hard. But as it gets back around, the value that it adds to your entire turn, on top of it, just getting any creature from any graveyard onto the battlefield straight up under your control. Really fun, splashy card. This is the kind of thing you want to be playing in Commander, the kind of effects I want to be seeing.
And here's the thing. You're not going to play this in the sweatiest decks. That's the thing that I will say is, like, you are playing this, like, I might play this in Karavik. I think it might kind of work in there. It's like I'm trying to kill stuff with that deck. I play a lot of big mana. I play a lot of mana rocks to get to high mana like this. So if you are in big mana, I think it's a great, fun commander card that's mostly casual. But I think that players are going to be very attracted to it despite it being casual.
Big, chunky, splashy card. And here's the opposite. 3 mana for a legendary artifact called Stasis Coffin. You're not going to win any games with this, but yeah, you might. You might survive an extra turn. Pull off that victory out of nowhere. Pay 2, tap it, exile it. You gain pro everything until your next turn. Now, it's you. So it's not going to like save your creatures or anything like that from a board wipe, but it's going to save you from dying if something's coming at you. Giant line, they play their Crater Hoof. Whoops. Use the Stasis Coffin. At the very least, it's sitting there on the battlefield, and it's like, okay, use your Crater Hoof. I dare you. You got to answer my Stasis Coffin first, because I'm going to nullify this whole turn. I'm not going to block with anything, and I'm going to Stasis Coffin, and you're going to lose the activated effect or the ETB effect of your Crater Hoof. Sorry. Just for that alone, I think it's fun. Jake also plays a Havoc Festival Wound Reflection combo in a deck, and like the turn that it gets to me and Havoc Festival starts to try to pop off, oh, I'm protection from everything. Everybody else's life total's going to half, and I'm going to sit pretty.
The way that I play this card, because it's so cheap, right? It only costs 3 mana to get it out on the battlefield. Now, you do want to have 2 mana to activate it if you need to. But I play this, after a heavy game of politicking, being like, oh God, we're on the ropes. What do we do? And then it's like, after people start to get eliminated and I make it seem like I'm weaker than I am, play the Stasis Coffin and protect myself. It's all about timing with effects like this. You don't want to just slam this down early, because then people are going to be like, oh, okay, well, we got to deal with the Stasis Coffin at some point. Right. This card for me is a long con. You cook it. You hold out on it. I can't even talk tonight. That's how good the Stasis Coffin is.
Yeah, I do see what you're saying about playing it early, though. You don't want to play Torpor Orb early, because it's not going to win you the game, but it's going to draw a ton of attention, and everybody's going to be attacking you, and you're going to be going, I'm not the threat. And it's like, yeah, but you're shutting off a lot of our creatures. So
it's like an early blood moon.
Right. Exactly. It just becomes about player removal, because I don't want to worry about a removal on the Stasis Coffin. I'm just going to force you to use it by attacking you every turn. and so it just draws way too much ire. But yeah, late, it's a very political piece. It's suddenly like, all right, who you going to swing at? Because Stasis Coffin is like, I'm at least getting second place. Who you gonna swing at?
Yeah, a well-timed Stasis Coffin could swing the game.
Yeah, Blast Zone's another reprint in the set. Wanted to cover it though, because if you haven't seen it before, it's a nice utility land. Enters a battlefield with a charge counter on it. Adds a colorless. Pay X twice to put X charge counters on it. So to put 1 on it, you got to pay 2. To put 2 on it, you got to pay 4, etc. And then 3, tap it, sack it, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of charge counters on Blast Zone. This works really well in proliferate decks, because it does come with a charge counter, so you can just proliferate it up until you're ready to use it. You probably normally want to aim this at like 3, 4, or 5 to get maximum coverage if you're just going for absolute maximum carnage, or you can start ramping it up into the 5 or 6, 7s if you want to specifically target somebody's commander for when they play it. You've got Blast Zone ready to go.
For me, I like Blast Zone as a spell that I'm playing in decks like blue decks or decks like green decks that don't have a lot of permanent destruction. I probably don't need this if I'm playing white, right? If I have a whole bunch of board wipe effects, probably don't need a Blast Zone as well. So for me, this is just one of those cards that helps you get effects that aren't typical in your colors into your colors. It's a little wonky. It's kind of annoying to play, but right now the card is very cheap and it's a good spell. It's a good land, excuse me.
Yeah.
For your collection if you don't have one.
Right. And if you don't have the effect, you want the effect, you're willing to jump through some hoops to get it. Demo Field's very interesting to me, because
better Field of Ruin.
Yeah, the first time Jake and I read this, we were like, Field of Ruin reprint with a different name. We can just run 2 Field of Ruins now. Okay, that's kind of cool. But this one's got a critical difference. You pay 2, tap it, sack it, destroy target non-basic land and opponent controls. Good. We're still at Field of Ruin. That land's controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. You may search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. Full stop. That's it. Now, the difference with Field of Ruin is that when you sack your land, your field, and you destroy their non-basic, it says each player may search their library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield. So with Demo Field, it's just me sacking and you that I destroyed. We both get to replace the land. We're not giving crazy residual value to the blue deck that didn't have any ramp.
The other 2 opponents are just like,
yeah, dude, let's go. I didn't have ramp. Now I've got some ramp. Yeah.
You guys enjoy that thing that you're doing, and we'll enjoy our residual effects for nothing.
Yeah, I like having this on an uncommon. You can still run it alongside Field of Ruin if your meta is just crazy filled with Cabal coffers. Throw both of them in your deck, especially if you're like 2 or 1 color. But, it's a little bit better Field of Ruin, and I'll take, strictly betters.
It's just an interesting card, small tweak on Field of Ruin that makes it more attractive than in my opinion, for Commander.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
And then lastly, we have Underground River, and this represents all of the pain lands that are in the set. So even though we're just talking about Underground River, this covers the other ones in Brothers War. These are just good, cheap lands for Commander.
These
are not the kind of thing that you need to spec. You don't need to go out and buy a ton of them.
No.
But just have one of each in your collection because they're just good. They're casual, but they're also sweaty. They can be sweaty as well. Players that need the mana fixing, that don't care about the damage,
right,
they are just as good as duels.
They're budget. They're so budget. They're so good at fixing. Don't worry about it saying deals 1 damage to you. Just ignore that.
Doesn't matter.
If you're a new player, you know, you're looking at this land, you're like, ugh, that downside sucks. You will not care. You would rather have your colors right. I promise. 100%
And when you
of the
fix your
time.
colors, just use this land for the
For the
waste.
colorless. Yeah, exactly.
Colorless cost.
Done and done.
Yep.
Such an easy way to use it. Make sure you pick these up. These are as cheap as they're going to get. The art on these from Brothers War is really cool. You can see the Vulcan Baga art here on Underground River. This is a great time to grab these.
This set, being at the end of the year, seems like such a pushed Magic the Gathering set that players are just, I mean, there's just so much to like. Artifacts, players like artifacts. There's a lot of fun artifacts in the retro slot. We got the Mox Amber reprint, Cage Sun, a ton of stuff. So definitely subscribe because we're going to go over all of that kind of stuff too.
Yep, that's the end of the video. Leave us some love in the form of the like button, the subscribe button, and check out our Patreon if you want. Jump into our Discord and talk to us. Catch you later. Bye! Nice dance.